Hey guys, this is Dr. Subhavramnani, your host for the MAM show, a show where we dissect the life journeys of people in the medical field and try to gain from their knowledge and experience. And today in episode 10, we have a really special guest who transformed from, let's say, a medical student to a doctor and now a businessman and an entrepreneur all together. So, this person has been in Forbes top 10 CEOs of 2020, in Business Today top 100 CEOs of 2020, and also a TEDx speaker at AIMS Patna. Please welcome Dr. Nachiket Bhatia. Hi, Dr. Nachiket. Welcome to the show, and I'm glad to have you here. And I know you have a lot of expertise about everything regarding the Indian medical schooling, and I think you are the right person to tell us about everything. So let's start with all the next topic, and then we will move on to your personal life journey and how you juggle between medical student and then on to entrepreneurship. So let us begin with this recent question that is popping up in everyone's mind, which is Ayush being added to the internship. So, what are your views about that, and what do you feel about that basically?
Hi, Subhav. First of all, thank you so much for having me here. Big fan of your show. And I think the
Thank you.
very first thing you asked me is pretty delicate. But as somebody who has, been into allopathy, and I do believe that adding Ayush into the internship may be not a right thing by the government. Basically, why? Because both allopathy and homeopathy, Ayush, they have their own beliefs, and trust me, I have respect for both of them. So, no
Yes,
disrespect to any of the fields, but they have their own beliefs, and in many areas, they are
true.
basically contradictory to each other. So, instead of those 7 days of Ayush, they could have basically added a skill development program for the medicos. Because trust me, medicos
Yeah,
are poor in many fields in life. I have been a medico who entered into business entrepreneurship, and we do not have any knowledge about finance. I mean, I did not have any idea
that's true.
about GST, and a 25-year-old guy asking stupid questions about GST, trust me, people were laughing at me. And in those 5.5 years of my medical journey, I did not get a chance to interact with GST, taxes, SIPs. I mean, I know many big words now, but I did not get a chance to interact with any of those. So
Yeah,
why not utilize those 7 days to actually make us interact with them, tell us about GST, tell us about how to file taxes, what are the best saving schemes, because the moment we start our career, we are supposed to earn, we are supposed to give taxes, file ITRs. Teach us about financial management. I think that is one of the biggest lacunas in a medico's life.
yeah,
The second the government can do is, I mean, digital marketing. Every small kid knows about it, but any of the doctors, do we have any chance or any interaction with digital marketing in our throughout our medical life? No. And even if today you have to, open a small clinic, you are supposed to have a digital presence so that patients can come to you. And
true.
if you do not know that, you will be paying, third-party applications like Practo, huge amounts of money, then, promotions, just to have that presence. So why not? The government allows us to have that kind of skill. Allows 7 days, 14 days, just small basics. If we are interested, we can always learn more, but at least let us interact with these kind of skills in the college itself.
True.
Those are the ideals that the government should instill in us, rather than just have a political agenda of I use 7 days, and when we enter that thing, we are learning everything opposite to what we have learned in the last 4.5 years. So as a person, I am pretty vocal against the whole Ayush thing. And just to say that, no disrespect to any of the fields, both are excellent.
True, and also like it is just 7 days, so I don't think so. Myself, as a recent graduate, how much I can learn about a completely different belief in just 7 days, even that
Exactly.
is a big concern. But okay, we have discussed about views on Ayush, and I think that's a great perspective that we can learn, digital marketing or something along those lines, and actually that will help us. And so now let's shift our focus towards the big topic in everyone's mind these days, which is the next exam. And recently it was, as you know, announced for 2023. So the guidelines are usually for people who've completed their final year. So what about, how will next phase out for students of 2017 batch or previous year batch? How will they write next? So I think you can shed some light upon that.
So basically, Subhav, 2018 batch will be the first batch which is going to give next one. All
Yes.
right, and they have to follow this whole procedure where they have to give the next one, then they have to do the internship, and then they have to give the next two, and only then they will get the permanent degree of India.
True.
But 2017 and the senior batches, now in my own belief, they are going to give the next one only. It is not
Okay.
concrete yet, but in my own belief, in my own concept, they are going to give the next one only. The whole thing is when the result comes up, they will have a different filter in their ranking. So in
Okay.
their ranking, there will be only 17 and seniors. So rank
Okay.
1, 2, 3, they will be only judged by these people, and the 18 batch students, and there is not going to be any junior batch. So 18 batch will have a different set of ranking.
Okay.
So when the seats are allotted, the seniors will be allotted the seats according to their filter, and they will be starting their postgrad on that very year, that is 23, because they have already completed their internship or they are about to complete their internship. They need not pass next two, and they will simply start their postgrad in that very year. Whereas the
Okay.
juniors, the 18 batch students, they will first complete their internship and they have to give the next two, they have to clear the next two, and then they will start their postgrad in 24. So that is
Okay.
how I believe they will chalk it out.
Okay, so basically, the 2017 batch and previous will start in 2023 itself. Like, okay,
Yes.
so that's how it will be differentiated. But so now this pattern is all changing about next. So we have NEET PG right now, and the pattern is changing to next. It is becoming a 3 day exam, and it has added a considerable amount of stress in a medical student's life, which already has a lot of stress, as you know. So, how should a medical student or a doctor adapt to this changing pattern of exam pattern? And are we seeing this changing exam pattern in recent exams already? Or how should we cope up with this?
So I believe your question is pretty much legit, but NEET 2021, which is going to happen on 11th September. Now
Yes.
that examination is, you can consider that examination our government's first step towards the next. I mean, they simply have reduced the number of questions from 300 to 200,
Yes.
keeping the time same, that is
Yes.
3.5 hours. So that means that points out to more time per questions. That points out to lengthier clinical questions.
True.
Simple. And second, they have removed subject differentiation from the whole exam. There is no more anatomy 17 questions. They are saying that the exam is basically from all medical subjects. And why do I believe that? That the questions that will come now are going to be integrated questions. That is physio, pharma, medicine. So pinpointing a question that this is from physio, pharma, or patho, or medicine is basically an impossible task. So that is why they have simply removed all the subjects differentiation in that examination. So now what students have to understand is that there is no more ratification or mugging up to actually save them. If they have to understand any of the questions, they have to understand the basic concept. And this is the biggest change that is happening, especially for MCA screening tests.
Yes.
They are simply being removed from one-liners to directly to huge concepts.
Yes.
So I think those are the people who have to first open their eyes and understand that rectification, the basic chanting, that is not going to save them anymore. You have to understand the concepts from the day one. IMGs, same thing is going to happen to them. Clinical questions, basically how they go is, for example, let's talk about COVID. Everybody is a COVID specialist today. You get a patient who is coughing, has a complaint of loss of taste, loss of smell. So what do? You basically ask him to get an HRCT, you ask him to get a test for loss of smell and loss of taste. The test comes back positive. There's infection in the CT. What do? You ask him to get a more concrete diagnostic test, that is RT-PCR. The
Yeah.
patient comes back. The patient is positive. RT-PCR comes back positive. What is the most probable diagnosis? The question is pretty
COVID.
simple.
Yeah.
Exactly. But do you understand that how many subjects are,
Integrated in this.
integrated in this thing?
Yeah.
It starts with medicine. When the patient comes to you, he complains about loss of taste and loss of smell. Then you send him for more tests, that is pathology. You send him to HRCT, that is what? That is
Radiology.
radiology. Comes back for RT-PCR, that is what? That is biochemistry. And in the end, he's asked you about COVID. So many subjects being integrated into this question, and this is a perfect example of a problem solving question that is going to be 60% in next.
Okay.
So if you think that only clinical subjects are important in next, then I'm sorry, that is not true. You have to understand the basics from the first and second year subjects, and only then you will be able to understand all the clinical subjects and actually answer that question.
True.
So open your mind, have a broader prospect of medical studies, that it is not about just clinical studies, it is also about understanding the basics. And that is true for both FMGs and IMGs. Only then you can crack the next.
So just the example you gave, which was integrating so many subjects, in the end, it was finally a question of biochemistry and microbiology. But
Exactly.
and it was such a lengthy long stem of the question, and you basically have to know radiology, you have to know medicine, but yes, in the end it is a microbiome question, but you have to know from the basics. So I think,
Exactly.
in my view, I think it's a positive change for our systems, because actually we will getting this clinical scenarios in real life. So I think that is a positive change for the next exam. But for a first year student, who does not have any exposure to either NEET, PG, or next, like a freshman in medical school, just the biggest tackle for him right now is anatomy. Let's say everyone's scared about anatomy in first year. So, how would you suggest a first year medical student to start preparing for next? What should he keep in his mind?
I think, Subhav, what the first year needs to understand is that if they have 4 years to prepare,
Yeah.
first of all, they have to realize that they have 4 years. 90% of first years whom I meet, if I try to instill this thing into them, that this is the time that you have, and currently this is the course that you have. Basically, time will keep on decreasing, and the course, even if I talk about COVID has at least increased 5 to 6 chapters minimum.
Yeah.
Course is increasing. So if you start today, then your time and your course can decrease simultaneously, which is if you look at the broader picture, is a very good thing. So if you are in first year, the only thing that you need is, if you have taken eGurukul, and if you have your normal Indian textbooks, that is BDC,
Yeah.
it is something that you need to do from the very first day is complete videos and textbooks together. How? Basically, you watch eGurukul by Dr. Ashwini Kumar from the very first day, first to 4 videos. Then you read the same topic from BDC, first to 4 of those videos. So now the most basic concepts are being taught in the first to 4 videos. And when you read the same thing from BDC, it is you are simplifying the topic there and then. Automatically, you understand it better. And then you watch 5th to 8th video. What will happen? It is like reading the Harry Potter book and then watching the video. So you are able to visualize what Harry Potter is supposed to look like. That scar over the forehead, those round spectacles. Same thing will happen here. And then again 5th to 8th video, then 5th to 8th topic from the textbook. And simply follow this thing in every subject for the next 4 years.
Okay.
Problem is, people think that this is such a simple trick, it is not going to be true. It's not like that. It is about sustainability. First year students will start, very aggressively, do like 8 hour, 10 hour in one day, and then within next 2 to 3 days, the whole fire is gone.
Yes.
फिर it comes back कि नहीं यार अभी क्या करना है, बाद में कर लेंगे, बहुत टाइम पड़ा है. टाइम तो सर यूं खत्म होता है. टाइम तो यूं खत्म होता है.
I can relate to that.
So And how do you expect next preparation to be there? So when you do this first to four videos, first to four topic from the textbook, this is basically for the university and for the concept, the basic concept. Then you basically open the QBank and you add the QBank in your daily studies, like first to four videos, first to four from textbook, and then first to four topics from the QBank. At the end of the day, next is basically going to be a bunch of questions. So you need to know how to implement the knowledge that you have revised multiple times. There are no marks for how much you know. There are marks for how much you can implement that knowledge into that exam paper. And that is only possible when you have enough practice. So when you do that question bank, you are able to tackle the questions that you are going into actual next exam, what kind of questions you will be getting. So that is how you prepare for next on the daily basis. Videos, topic from textbook and QBank on a daily basis. And make a 2 to 3 hour plan daily for the first years. Please do not make an 8-hour plan. You will not be able to follow it. Please do not study to impress your friends कि यार देखो तो 8 घंटे पढ़ सकता है. It is your result that will speak. If you are studying for 8 hours, अगर कर सकते हो रोज, बेस्ट ऑफ लक. अगर नहीं कर पा रहे, 2-3 घंटे पढ़ना चाहते हो, so make a plan accordingly and just fulfill. They say that the tortoise wins that race,
Yes.
slow and steady.
Slow and steady.
Be slow and steady. Do not be aggressive. Do not be a show off. Going into libraries, studying, with 7 to 8 books. Pick BDC. It's the best book that is available for anatomy. You have eGurukul videos with yourself, and simply combine them. QBank is in the app, and do this for 2 to 3 hours daily. If you can do it sustainably, you are gold, my friend. Like literally, you are gold. So if you are in first year, what you have to study is you have to study first year subjects. If you are when you come to second year subjects, a revision of first year subjects. You are in third year and final year subjects, and in your final year, revision of all 19 subjects. So basically, this is your 4-year plan.
But the key here is to be, to stick to the plan, because as you said,
stick to
the
the
fire will last. Fire usually lasts for 2-3 days, and then it's gone. Okay, so this was about first year. But what if I'll give you a scenario? I am a second or a third year medical student. I know some basics about anatomy, physio, patho. I still cannot integrate them together, but I know basics subject wise. And I have not started in this way, like you said. I did not watch videos from eGurukul and read BD Chaurasiya in my first year. I did not do anything of that. I am starting my next preparation now from second or third year, and I have some basics. So now, what should I do? What should my plan look like, or what advice would you have for these type of students?
So if you are in second year, again I'll just repeat myself over here. First and second year subjects. When you are in third year, second year student comes into third year, third and final year subjects, and in your final year, revision of all 19 subjects. Please do not do this mistake of keeping final year subjects in for final year, because at the end of the day, they are going to play a very big role. And at the time of revision, when you will be putting all your time in the main videos, you are already lagging behind. So if you have wasted 1 year of your time, that is your first year, you have to compensate somewhere. That is what I am saying to all the people. When you are in third year, you have wasted 2 years of preparation. So you have to cover 4 years of preparation in just 2 years. So that means you have to, do triple the hard work. There is no other option. The other option would be giving next one, not getting a good score, then dropping one once again, and then giving the next one again. So at the end of the day, either you compensate by hard work, or you compensate by dropping an year or two. But it will take you at least 3 years of hard work to crack that examination. You understand the semantics, right? So what I am telling you, that if you are in second year, first second year, third year mein third final year, and final year mein revision of all 19. If you are in third year, again I am requesting you, advising you, each one of you, do not jump directly to clinical subjects. First cover first, second, third year subjects. In your final year, and all 19 subjects revision. But in your third year, do not think that, okay, I'll just do third and final year subjects, first, second year मैं बाद में कर लूँगा. वो बाद कभी नहीं आएगा. और आपकी जो अंडरस्टैंडिंग है क्लिनिकल सब्जेक्ट्स की, that will automatically be decreased. So the time that you are investing in those clinical subjects, it's basically you're working twice and your output is half. So
Yeah.
instead, read anatomy first before reading orthopedics and surgery. Automatically, when they talk about the weakest part of humerus, you will know what it is.
True.
You need not read it again. And that is the point that every student is missing right now. They're simply jumping to clinical subjects thinking that these are the saviors, and but at the end they forget, they have basically forgotten about the real heroes, and those are the first and second year
Indeed,
subjects.
sir.
And I'm telling you, this is a blunt truth that nobody will tell you. So just keep my words in your mind when you are watching this, when you are reading about all the subjects.
So basically, we should do the basics first and then jump on to clinical and not be, let's do clinical subjects right now and all. But in a medical student's life, next is not the only problem. There are prof exams, there are university exams, there are semester exams, and for FMGs, there are other exams. And usually, let's speak about India. These prof exams are written, but this next exam is MCQ. So they are two different beasts, having the same syllabus but two different patterns. So how should a medical student tackle prof exams or university exams for FMGs, also while also preparing for this next in the manner you said, watching videos, reading the book, doing the questions? How should we plan this and integrate all this together? Because whenever we start for prof exams, we forget what next. I don't know what is next. This 2 months I'm studying for profs. So how should we manage our time accordingly?
So basically, Subha, when I talked about reading from the videos and then reading from the textbook, now
Yeah.
these two things is basically all about concepts and the university exams. So when you are making your notes and when you are watching the videos, you are making your notes in a short manner, and when you are reading from the textbook, you are making your notes in a bit of a long manner. And at the end of the day, in the prof examination, you have to write what you have read from BDC.
Yeah.
If they ask you circle of Phillips, you have to draw that
Draw the
particular
circle.
diagram. It's as simple as that, right? So when you are doing this exercise, you are basically covering both the university, the prof exams, and the concepts at that very moment.
Yeah.
You're covering both of these things. So that is why it is an absolute coverage of all the things when you follow this pattern. That is videos, textbook, and then when you add the Q bank, that is completely next. But the above 2 points, those are for your university and the prof exams. I mean, when you follow that, now you will start understanding that okay, कि अब circle of Willis पूछा गया, तो I have already made that diagram. I have read that from Ashwini Kumar sir, and at the end of the day, it's very simple. You have understood the concept in a video format. You have read the same thing from the textbook, so you'll find no difficulty in putting that piece of paper in a subjective manner on the exam sheet. Trust my word on that.
Okay, so basically the first two steps which you told about can be for both next and university exams, but the last one is about next. So
Next.
should we still continue doing our question banks while our prof exams are around the corner, or should we stop that third step?
I think knowledge never goes waste. So
Okay.
when you are doing that particular thing, you are adding stuff into your knowledge itself. So why stop? Why
Okay.
stop? I mean, it's an hour of a day. I mean, if you have read 4 videos, it's an hour that you need to do the question bank. Put that hour out. It's an investment in yourself. So I believe it's never going to go waste.
Okay, so let's say exclusively again talking about this third step of question bank. We have now many apps, and let's specifically talk about eGurukul now. So, this emerging online platform applications like eGurukul has enabled students like me. For example, I am a foreign medical graduate. Now I'm a graduate, but I did not have access to let's say Dr. Ashwini Kumar's offline classes which he is holding. Now I get to enjoy these classes or learn from these classes on my iPad, on my phone. So how do you think, what is the importance of this e-learning platform that has recently emerged in our medical curriculum, I can say, and especially for FMGs who can study, miles away from India and from Indian teachers. What is the importance of this?
See, I think the biggest importance is that now Next has actually asked FMGs to increase their level 10 times, because between MCI screening test and the next one, next one is going to be at least a 10 times tougher examination. So FMG starts need to learning from the Indian teachers who used to focus on NEET, and now they have to come up to that level, because let's be blunt over here, that exam is going to be of that level. So when I talk about the e-learning concept, the Indian faculties, the NEET PG faculties, now they were not able to travel outside because of various reasons, and now the pandemic has taken a strike back. So now that kind of knowledge is now available to every FMG who wants to prepare for next, and who wants to. And another thing that I actually missed. So earlier, the difference between MCI screening test and NEET PG was MCI screening test was a screening test.
Yes.
It had no competition between the students sitting for the examination. You simply have to cross a barrier. You cross the barrier, you have passed. You do not cross that barrier, you are failed, right? NEET PG was an entrance test for postgrad. So even after crossing MCI screening test, you had to give NEET PG, again a competitive level examination, and only then you could get a good postgrad seat in India. But Next has basically merged both the examinations.
Yeah.
Now, in that very examination, you will get a parameter that, okay, if you cross this barrier, you will simply be passed and you will get a temporary license to work in India. And in that examination only, if you get a higher score, you will be considered amongst the rankers, and you can simply apply for the postgrad seat as well. So you can basically kill two birds with one stone, in the next one. So now every FMG has to understand that it is not basically about passing that examination. If they simply work a little bit harder, they can get a good PG seat in India within that attempt as well. So why not give it your best?
Okay.
Why not give it your best? I mean, why waste 1 year of dropping and then giving the next examination again for a postgrad seat? So if a first or second year or even a third year student of FMG is preparing right now, I do believe he or she has the time, has the resources to actually go and crack that examination by not simply passing the examination, but by actually getting that seat that they have always loved for. So e-learning has given them those kind of resources which earlier would not have been possible. I mean, you watch Ashwani Kumar sir lectures, you watch Tamim sir lectures, you will understand what difference I am talking about. I mean, you want to understand medicine at the next level, only Tamim sir can make them do so.
Okay, so one more thing about this. So now the MCI exam and the NEET PG exam is basically going to be one for FMGs, which is going to be the next exam. Yes. But the thing is, the MCI exam now, it does not have negative marking. You basically attempt all 300 questions, and you need to get 150 plus. You get 151, it is same as if a person is getting 250. There is nothing. But now, how will this work? I don't think so. There's a draft already out for this, but how do you think will it work? For example, I am an FMG appearing for Next. Will I have no negative marking and also a score with negative marking? Or will it just not be, will there be negative marking or something like that? How will it work? Because for screening exam, we have no negative marking. We attempt all questions. But for NEET PG, there is negative marking. So people leave the questions which they don't know. So how will this pan out for FMGs, for screening and NEET PG merged into Next?
So basically, although there is no clarity about this fact, I do believe in my own opinion that there will be negative marking in next one. And the government issued us a sample draft for FMGs where they stated out that the FMGs will be allowed only 2 attempts for next one. Trust me, I was one of the most vocal people who were against that particular draft, because nobody in the whole world should be allowed, it should be restricted from having an opportunity to have a better life. Nobody in the whole world. I mean, you cannot restrict somebody. You should allow them a chance. I mean, you're already making so much changes for them, so you should allow them a chance to make their own life and give them as many opportunities as they want. So this draft also had another point which stated that next one for the FMGs will also have an additional exam paper which will have
Yes.
only first and second year subjects.
Yeah.
So both of these have been taken back by the government.
Yeah.
So commenting on that will not be the right thing to do. So you have to wait and watch. As for the negative marking, I do believe that negative marking can be there in the next one examination, looking at the whole scenario with NEET PG.
Yeah.
So, but let's wait and watch what the government finally decides.
Okay. So one more thing that people, come across, even the technique you have told, you've explained in first year, second year, third year. We watch videos, read the books. So people are like, including me. Okay, maybe have solved this problem, but I study, I revise, I forget. I study all over again, I revise again, I forget. How should I cancel this I forget part and just, I study, I revise, and I revise, and I revise, and I revise, and I give the exam? So, how can I plan my revisions effectively? Maybe that can be the question. So, please guide the students on that.
I'll tell you the one thing that I have seen many of the students missing in the whole thing, that students actually are not doing is making their own notes. They are depending. We eGurukul also have some printed notes, but at the end of the day, I think the first thing that every student needs to do is make their own notes. So automatically their retention of the subject would be highly increased.
Yeah.
And the second, even if you are getting the digital notes, I would recommend you to make some of your own notes in in those notes itself. Like, you got a point that is there in the note, but you add it with your own wordings. So when you do it, your brain automatically retains that particular line much better. And when you are revising, please do not revise from the videos. Start revising from the notes itself. And the main videos are supposed to be done once. Then, for example, if you have eGurukul, so we give you two types of revision. First, we give you test and discussion. That is basically your first revision, where we give you 100 MCQs. We ask you to solve the MCQs, and then the faculty will discuss the whole subject in those 100 MCQs. That is your first revision. And the second will be the second is basically LMRP, last minute revision program. That is 250 hours of concise videos. So in those, for example, if I talk about anatomy, 50 hours of anatomy is concise to 5 hours. So you revise with those videos, one module per day. So in that manner, you know the main subject, you have revised with the first revision, and now you just need a quick revision of all the important points, so that you have the basic main title, and now you know the subtitles, but you need a main title ki humorous mein ye sare point important hai. So this is basically a very good idea when you have 1 year of preparation. So basically, to revise and to retain, utilize this 3 level of main videos, first revision and second revision. It will actually help you out. And of course, make your own notes, even if you have to do upon the digital notes. It will be really helpful for you.
Okay, so we either make our own notes or we annotate on the digital notes, and we use
Exactly.
this main videos, then revision videos, and then second revision videos for our preparation. And I think we should not forget. But also, there is one more thing added to our stress, which is when to give grand tests for the preparation of these exams. Because, as you said, at the end of the day, what is going to give you a result is how many questions you can answer, how much you can implement your knowledge into these questions. And for that, I think giving grand tests is really, really important, because it will give you an actual feeling of how the exam is. So when to start giving grand tests, because grand tests will have everything. So when should I start giving these exams?
I'll give you an example. This is my 7th year of my career over here, and
Yeah.
every year we see students, some people getting like very good ranks and everything, and many times you will see a ranker in which we had put a lot of hope actually fail in that examination. So once 3 years back, I did this whole survey, and I found out that many of the people who are actually, not good at the start immediately increase their performance within July, August. Why? Because people used to start for 1 year preparation time. People used to start the preparation in February, and our grand test series starts in February itself. The people who gave the grand test from the very first day, so they are performing badly here,
Yeah.
and slowly their performance is increasing. And the people who are not giving the grand test, they are giving the first grand test in the month of August, because they take like 6 good months to just revise, and they have failed badly. And after August, their score, the people who have not given the grand test for the last 6 months, their score goes down rather than go
Yeah.
up. So what we found out, that it's like you are playing in India at the match practice, in the game practice, you are playing spinners and everything, and your
Yeah.
match is in New Zealand, where you are getting just bounces on your face. So although you have prepared like very good, but
Good.
those bounces are something that you never even imagined, and the whole
True.
team strikes out below 100.
Yeah.
That is the biggest problem. That grand tests are the real game experiences. They are not just an exam to check your ranking. No, it is an all around experience. You might have seen so many students saying, I froze in the examination,
Yeah.
my mind went blank. Now those kind of problems, silly problems, can actually cost you 1 year of your life, which you cannot afford in the real exam. So you have to start preparing with the, if your series is in New Zealand, you have to start preparing with the bounces from the very first day. If you go with the bounces in the last day, I'm sorry, but you are going to just duck and you are going to get caught behind very, very soon. So if you are giving grand test, when you start giving grand test in the month of February, for example, when you have started your preparation is low, your game experience is low.
This is low.
You score bad, you don't mind. You say it's my first attempt. Every month you are giving grand test, your revision is increasing, so as your game practice. And by the month of August, when you give the 6th grand test, your preparation is up to the mark and your game practice is also up to the mark. So you are bound to increase good. I mean, you're bound to score good. There's no scope of failure, unless something else might happen. But there's no scope of failure. But the people who do not give the grand test, when they finally give the grand test, they do not know how the balls are going to come in. They do not know what an outswinger is. So in spite of rigorous revision, they fail because of lack of game practice. And in August, it's a serious depression. क्या मैंने इतनी पढ़ाई करी फिर भी मैं फेल हो गया, मेरी रैंक उतनी अच्छी नहीं आई. In September, the score is going to go bad only, because they know they don't have any idea what is happening, where to go next. मैंने इतनी पढ़ाई करी थी, अब क्या होगा? September नीचे, October के अंदर, then we start keeping counseling sessions, and at that point of time we meet such students जिनको हम लोग फिर counsel करते हैं. We talk to them, we make them get back on the ride, and then by November their score starts increasing slowly. But those 3 months that they have basically wasted, those 3 months are never going to come back. And the people who are actually getting the rank 1, 2, 3, they are the people who give grand tests from the very first day. The game practice, the match practice, now that is one of their biggest reasons for success. So you won't find many students believing in this tactic, but trust me, all the rankers follow this thing. So grand test is supposed to be given from the very first day. Not for the ranking, not for the score, but for match practice.
For experience.
Exactly.
For the real-time experience. But now, talking about experience, so NEET PG to next is also a big shift from a 1-day exam for a few hours to a 3-day exam. So how will how will our students and doctors have the endurance to keep our minds sharp for 3 days, and answering the questions again and again for 3 continuous days? Will the grand test pattern also change accordingly in, let's say, Gurukul? Or what else can we do to stay focused for 3 days? Because it's after 1 day, for example, personally, when I give my university exam, let's say the day I come back, I've given my exam, I cannot study anything. Like I've wasted a lot of my mental energy. And to get ready again and get back again and give another exam the next day and the day after that, it is not an easy task. So how can we match that endurance? Because this is a big change.
So basically, we have already started our the new grand test. The whole experience is in development, and by within a couple of months, we'll be launching that, where we'll be giving the students a complete next experience, a 3-day examination, the
Hmm.
whole time duration and everything. And I do believe it's a matter of practice. So once the students get into the sway and everything, I do believe that within a couple of months they will be ready with the whole next thing. And with the thing that sounds like the biggest demon right now, it will be like a Sunday morning walk. कि next आना है, next देना है. So I think this is the one thing that is just simple practice.
Hopefully, hopefully by the time we reach next, we'll have these grand tests of 3 days, and we will have enough experience to tackle that. Okay, so now we have, I think we've completed everything about preparing for next. Now let's move on to some further questions, which I think again you are the very right person to answer these questions, which is how will this counseling process work in next? What is the criteria for selection of a PG seat? Because there is next one, there is next two, which is pass fail. So how will all this pan out in the end?
So basically, the post-grad seat will be given to you only on the basis of your next one score.
Okay.
What you score in next one is the score. For example, next one is equal to NEET PG for postgrad.
Okay.
Once you start your internship, the next two is simply a exam to get you your permanent Indian license for medical
License.
degree. Okay, so it doesn't have, next two doesn't have to do anything with your PG score and PG and anything, but you have to compulsorily cross next two to get yourself a permanent degree of India. If you fail in next two, although you do not have to give the next one again, but you have to give the next two again after some time to actually cross over and get a permanent degree. Despite, even if you have got a rank one in next one and you fail in next two, you shall be considered a failure. You have to give the next two examination again.
So what was the criteria of, like, how will I be judged? Am I passed in next two or am I failed in next two? There is no objective scoring. So how will I be judged? Like, okay, you've done enough, you have passed. You have not done enough, you have failed. How will I be judged?
So basically, the syllabus of next two is what you learn during the internship.
Internship. Yeah.
Whether it is going to be a practical examination or an MCQ based examination, that is still not clear.
Oh.
But the syllabus part is clear. So that is one thing that the government needs to give a clarity on, like very, very soon. And they are going to give you a basic, like an MCA screening test, it is 50%. So they are
Yeah.
also going to give you a parameter, a passing percentage for next two. It can be
Okay.
50, it can be 40, whatever the government decides. So you cross that barrier, you are passed. You are below that barrier, you have failed. That is how they
Oh.
have planned it.
Okay, so this was all about, let's say, next. But what if I am going to give you two scenarios? Let's say first I am a foreign medical graduate right now, which I am. So my scenario, I I wish to practice in the US or the UK. Should I come back to India, or do I have to come back to India and give next one and next two, and then pursue UK US? Or second scenario, I'm an Indian medical student. Let's say now, should I pass next one and next two, or do I have to pass next one and next two to pursue my career abroad, or I can just go without doing next one, next two? So what is the
So
basic
basically,
behind
if you
this?
are a foreign medical graduate and if your degree is validated in US, then you can directly go to USMLE and
US.
okay, and you can apply there. But if your degree is not valid over there, you need an Indian license for that. Then you need to come back to India, complete next one, complete the compulsory rotatorship, that is the internship, and then
Internship.
give the next two again. Okay,
Okay.
only then when you have cleared all the three aspects, you will get the permanent degree of India. That is a medical degree.
Okay.
And then you can apply in US or UK. And to all the Indian medical graduates, you have to compulsorily give the examination, the internship, and the next two. Only
Okay.
then you will get a medical license of India. So no escape.
Okay. So if you are an Indian medical student, you compulsorily have to give next one, next two.
So
Foreign
basically,
medical.
So they have changed. They have basically changed the whole Indian system. Now it is a licentiate examination. The
Yes,
next.
yes, yes.
So like USMLE, from wherever you have
Yeah.
done it, you have to pass
To give
USMLE for the
even
license.
US graduates or US students give
Exactly.
USMLE. Okay. So same way now
So
for India.
exactly. So whoever wants to practice in India, they have to
Will
pass
give
this
the same
examination.
exam. It
Yes.
doesn't matter your FMG, Indian medical, all will give same exam next. Just
Exactly.
like USMLE, doesn't matter your US student or student from another, everyone gives the same exam. So it's like one exam for all.
One exam, one nation.
One exam, one exam, one nation. So I think we have completed everything I think we could about next, and I think the students and doctors watching this will now have a much better idea on starting from how to prepare from first year, second year, third year, what is next about, what are the changes which is happening, how they can utilize e-gurukul for the next preparation, and even the grand tests which are going to change an e-gurukul. So I think we have covered everything. Now let's come to a more interesting part, at least the more interesting part to me, which is you, your life journey. So, as I know, of course, you started as a medical student, but then you moved on to entrepreneurship, business, and also you got mentioned by very notable labels like Forbes, TEDx, and Business Today. So how did this transition take place from a medical student to an entrepreneur? Tell us about your journey.
I think if your father is a doctor, you have to become a doctor. So that's the Indian thing, right? And when your father is into entrepreneurship, and so I was in my third year when this happened, that things started to go very down, very bad for DPMCI, and so I was, called by some of the trusted employees of my company, the loyal employees, that if you do not come right now, things are like going very, very bad. And you know, you know how family businesses go. It's like three people managing the whole country
The
and
whole
everything.
thing.
So till I mean, when it is going good, it is going good. But when it starts going bad, it is not. You are not able to pinpoint why it is going bad, and every year it simply starts going down. So things were going pretty bad for me. I mean, the whole institute, the rankers were not coming. Students were basically dwindling down in every time. And I joined in like 2015 and 14, 15. I actually joined, and the the most irritating part about the whole journey, the medical part, was that we did not have any kind of real skills that were relatable to what I was supposed to do. I used to go there. I
Yeah.
did not understand any finance, no marketing, no sales, and of course, even the medical part was above my thing. Imagine a third year student trying to understand medicine and everything, and especially what people are teaching. I mean, what is going wrong. So at that point of time, I realized the fact that I should try and put my hands in various things. I tried marketing, I tried sales, I flopped badly. I flopped badly, and I tried investing my money here and there. So 17 to 19, that was like the uh, most hard period for me, because my company was in serious losses. I mean, we were in crores in losses, in debt, huge debts. And in 17, I thought of doing this thing, that कि अब ना इसको बचाने से अच्छा है कि कुछ नया शुरू करते हैं, so जो इसको बचा सके.
Huh. Huh.
At that point of time, at that point of time, this digital thing was e-learning was going up, and again, zero knowledge, zero skill, zero experience. मैंने भी कहा मैं ही बनाऊंगा. I tried my hand in 18 में मैंने हाथ मारा, तो 19 के अंदर we launched e-Gurukul, जिसको हम वो कहते हैं, pilot कहते हैं,
Huh.
which flopped badly.
Oh.
Which flopped badly because I was working as, मतलब कि पैसे बिल्कुल नहीं थे और बिल्कुल ही हमने चीप बना रखा था उसको. एंड फिर मैं समझ में आया कि दैट दिस इंडस्ट्री नीड्स अ लॉट ऑफ स्किल. सो 18 के अंदर स्टार्टेड डूइंग स्किल डेवलपमेंट कोर्सेज, डिजिटल मार्केटिंग, प्रॉपर सेल्स, चैनल लीड्स, मार्केटिंग, डेटा एनालिसिस, एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप की प्रॉब्लम कहाँ पे आ रही है. एंड इन 19 मिड मैंने रियलाइज की दैट e-Gurukul pilot flop हो गया बहुत ज़्यादा. I sold off all my cars. I mortgaged my house, took huge loans from the market क्योंकि बैंक तो मुझे लोन दे नहीं रहा था और मैं सब कुछ लगा दिया अपना उस टाइम पे और तब मैंने ई गुरुकुल 1.0 लेके आया
Yeah.
मतलब जो मेरी शायद सबसे भगवान की दी हुई खास बात थी दैट माई पीपल माई फैकल्टीज माई पार्टनर्स वर वेरी लॉयल टू द कंपनी डिस्पाइट एवरी बैड टाइम दे डिड नॉट लीव अस बट दे वर apprehensive of their future with us so जो कि बिल्कुल ठीक था I mean they were not wrong at all the way our reputation was dwindling down I could understand today I totally understand their scenario I mean I had not paid my people paid the faculties for six months and they were just dependent on us for their whole pay and everything तो उसके बावजूद भी they stuck with us so that's a huge respect to those people but when I sold off everything I at that point of time I was just with me my skills and e-gurukul nothing else 26 January it launched
Okay.
and by July 2020 we had crossed 1 lakh downloads July
That's amazing.
2020 after 4 years of losses my company was in profit for the very first year for very first time जुलाई 2020 मैंने अपने सारे डेट्स पूरे करे मेरी कंपनी प्रॉफिट में थी और शायद पहली बार मैंने जुलाई में आके आई बॉट समथिंग फॉर माई सेल्फ दैट वाज नॉट विद इन द डेट थिंग आफ्टर 4 years so I cannot tell you that joy which I felt at that point of time and that was the day I realized ki that whole journey was somehow worth it
True.
so जब 2.0 लॉन्च हुआ I mean normally क्या होता था so we जब खराब टाइम चल रहा था तो at that point of time we were saving money wherever we can like
Yeah.
staying at two-star hotels and visits taking the via flight so that वो 1000 रुपए सस्ती आती है so we have done those kind of things ठीक है ना and उसके बाद we did a party in a 5-star hotel we invited our people over there that that the trust that you have shown us so आज जो हो पाया
This is a
it is
reward.
because of you only it is a reward
Yeah.
so I think that was the whole scenario that being a second generation in my family I was supposed to be in there but that whole thing that whole seesaw of the journey taught me one thing that we doctors need to be very good in financial management it is not about just earning the money it is about managing your finances and if you are not able to do it things can go very bad very suddenly and you will not even be able to identify कि क्या हो क्या रहा है गलती से
Okay, so this was a very inspiring journey for many people. And but as you said, you were in your third year of medical school, right? When all this started to go haywire with your company. So how did you juggle between being a medical student first of all, and then also managing your company as a third year medical student, at least starting from there? So how did you juggle between that?
So in third year, my college was pretty near my house, like 2 hour journey. So third year के अंदर I was going to the college in the afternoon, and in the weekends I used to stay and see what was happening. I was not being productive in the company right now, but I simply joined to understand, to observe, कि basic procedure सीखता हूँ कि what is happening basically because a coaching institute is not just about the coaching part. It is about multiple layers. I mean, if I talk about this podcast, I know how much you have, taken the pain of getting this into a particular shade, and that requires so much technical knowledge, so much after production is required. Same is,
Yes.
I mean, this talk is just like the 10%. Rest
Yeah.
of the output depends on the 90%. So same thing
Yes.
applied here. That even I thought that coaching is just about going there and teaching, but when I entered, it is about a huge new vertical world altogether. So in third and final year, I was more of an observer in the company, with seeing what is happening. And the basic things I took in my hand were my internship. So my internship was pretty long because I actually used all my days, all my holidays, because I was going 3-day internship and 3-day in my company. And I think I got the highest ever extension in the whole internship in my college. That was 97 days. मुझे 97 days की extension मिली थी. And my professor used to just clap when I used to enter into my internship. Sir आए हैं. But अब उनको पता नहीं था तो I never told them. But ठीक है, I took the jibes and everything कि ठीक है 3 दिन मैं वहाँ सीखता था and 3 दिन I used to go there because for me that was an internship that was
Also important.
also important. That was an internship that was a little less important. So I divided my time like that. तो 100 दिन की जब
Okay.
एक्सटेंशन मिली थी तो मुझे बुला के प्रिंसिपल साहब ने बुला लिया।
कर ले, complete कर लिया. Okay, so that's how you juggled. But now you have reached a point where eGurukul is at its very peak, or it's at a very good stage, and now you're already looking forward to future plans with that. And I have maybe read an article somewhere here or there that you want to integrate augmented reality or virtual reality into medical learning. And this is, to be honest, I'm hearing this for the first time. I think last I heard about AR and VR in medical was like this anatomy app, Complete Anatomy, which I used in my medical college to visualize the structures, bones, everything. So, what is your idea? Because I don't think so. I have heard it anywhere else, at least in the Indian medical community, of AR and VR in medical learning. So, what is your idea, and how did you get this idea?
So basically, I have been going through a lot of apps right now. I'm trying to integrate more and more technology with eGurukul. So in 1 year of time, our plan is to integrate AR and VR, where a student can actually visualize a surgery, a whole surgery process that is going on with eGurukul. Go through the whole process, the scalpel, the main things that is happening during the surgery. If I talk about anatomy, simply anatomy, it is visualizing the bone in every aspect, the 360 degree, the whole thing. So that is a complete plan which I believe that should happen by the end of 22 itself.
Oh, so
But
before next.
fingers crossed.
Okay, because this is a big step. If for example, if you it's your idea, so even if you bring it into the medical system, eventually everyone will follow it. Eventually, the benefit will be for the students and the doctors. In any case, whatever however they use it, in the end, the benefit will be for us. So, I think as soon as this idea gets implemented, which is I think a very good idea, and I can't wait to actually experience it. It will be great. So, I think we have talked everything about next, everything about your very inspiring life journey. Uh, what what could be a few words in the end you could tell the medical students and the doctors watching this right now till the end? How can you inspire them? I'm sure they are already inspired by your journey, your juggling between this medical school and entrepreneurship, your knowledge on all of this. But what can be some few words to take away from this podcast?
See, when I was in 17, 18, when I was down and downs, my idea was just, earn money because I wanted to get out of the mess. The problem was I was skipping one step, and that was a benefit of somebody, the benefit of the consumer, in our case, the students. When I launched in 2019 eGurukul, I simply did the same mistake again. I wanted just to launch a product which was going to be beneficial for me and not the students. In 2020, I changed my mindset that the product has to help out the student. If it does, revenue will follow. You cannot basically skip this step where your services, your product is beneficial for the consumers. In your case, if you are into this field, you need to be somebody who can help out a patient in any sense follows, in any sense, in anyhow. So for that, you have to be very, very skillful. You have to be something that nobody else around you is. And if you are that person, trust me, revenue will follow wherever you go. So do not focus on the revenue directly. Focus on your skills. Focus on being somebody nobody else is. Only then people will recognize you for somebody who you are. And if you are able to do that, so stop thinking about money. Money will follow you. And if you can, as a doctor, I'm telling you that you need to invest your time in skill building. Learn finance management, learn digital marketing, learn data analysis, because these small skills are going to help you in your life in the ways you cannot even imagine. Medical as a skill is very good, but in the real world, so many things are needed that you don't even know of. So invest your time in both the things, skill development as well as loving what you do. You are gold,